Thank you. Thank you. Miss Becky, that's for you. Put that back.
Take your stuff.
I want it over there.
Are you serious?
Yes.
I almost went over it. Is that where you want it?
Everybody, do you have a sit down sign?
We have a bug flying from the. Beware of bug flying from the ice.
I do. Yeah. I learned a long time ago. Deonza will hit me. Is that okay? I really do need it out here a little bit so people can get to it. Here you go. I'm sorry. Okay, thank you for being here. Listen, we appreciate you showing up to talk finances. I'm thankful for the committees, that's plural, ministry teams, everybody that's been involved in the last few, it's really been a few months. And presenting a budget to you, you should have seen it by now. They handed it out on Sunday. I forgot to announce it Sunday morning. I apologize for that, but we did send an email and a text and all that. So we need you to know that what's happening. Tonight is the discussion, and I'm just going to tell you how that goes. You know how it goes, but in general, if you have questions, those questions can be directed to individual ministry leaders if they work over that budget line. But I believe that finance can represent most questions. Is that fair? You can ask me, but I'll probably point you to one of them. I'll do what I can, but I don't really have a format for doing this. I put a microphone here in the middle because if you need to ask a question, let me get to you with the microphone so that everybody can hear you. We want to make sure that we hear the questions. There might be some people watching online that want to see what we're doing and that's the only way that they can hear. So if you do get a microphone and you do have a question, I ask you to hold it close. I came in here today and sanitized that one. So if you're worried about sickness and all that kind of stuff, it's clean for now. So I'm going to call us into business meeting here in just a minute, but I'd like to start with, and I told Deidre I was going to do this. I'd like to start with reading something to you that John just read to the deacons, 30 minutes ago. We spent some time together in prayer, looking forward to tonight. And Ephesians chapter 4 says a lot of things about unity. I believe that that's what Ephesians is written for, is unity in the church. We did that when I first came here. We spent several, I think it was Sunday mornings, talking about unity. I'm going to go to the end of the chapter. Paul says at the end of this chapter, verse 25, "Therefore, having laid aside falsehood, each one of you speak the truth with his neighbor, because we are members of one another. Be angry and do not sin. Do not let the sun go down on the cause of your anger. Do not give the devil an opportunity. The one who steals must steal no longer. Instead, he must labor, doing good with his own hands, so that he will have something to share with the one who has need. You must let no unwholesome word come out of your mouth, but only what is beneficial for the building up of the one in need, that it would give grace to those who hear. And do not grieve the Holy Spirit of God, by whom you were sealed for the day of redemption. You must put away all bitterness, anger, wrath, quarreling, and slanderous talk, indeed all malice. Instead, be kind to one another, compassionate, forgiving one another, just as God in Christ also forgave you." That's something that we needed to hear. It's something that I needed to hear. This verse was given to me at the beginning of this week, and so I wanted to read it to you. Let me pray, and then I will officially get us started. Father, we thank you for tonight. Thank you so much for this church, Lord, for the money that you've given us already, for the funds that we've had to do ministry, for the long-standing impact that this church, even under different names, has had in the community. Lord, thank you for using us and putting us in a place. Thank you for moving us so many years ago to this part of town where we think you have a mission and a plan. And I don't know, Lord, if we even call it a vision. You know what's going to happen. And so I pray that we would find it. I pray that you would help us to see where you're going. You would point us in the right direction. And Lord, that we would get there because you're the one that we're focused on. I pray that we would look to Jesus, and we would do just as Paul encourages us here tonight, to love one another, to speak the truth in love, and to work towards the same goal. Father, we thank you, we love you. We ask these things in Christ's name. Amen. So as I believe as moderator, is that what I am? I call us into business meeting. This is the presentation and discussion of the 2025 budget for Providence Baptist Church. I hand the microphone to Deidre Tudor, chairperson of the Finance Committee. If you need a stand, I can give it to you.
Okay, guys. I'd like to take this opportunity basically in the beginning to thank my committee, Paul Baird, Bobby Sparkman, Patty Moore. They've just been instrumental, given so much time and energy and effort to making sure that this budget is a representative of all the committees that are here and all of the needs that this church is going to need this year. So I appreciate them. I really do. I couldn't have done this without them. So I appreciate their help. So I know Josh may have the actual or the actual budget. Oh, great. That's really small. I do have copies. If anybody, would you like to have a physical copy? I'll give, well, I'm not sure. That's not my notes. Some of them are left over from Sunday, but. Even the printed copy is really small, and I'm sorry, but I really was trying to get it all on one page so that we wouldn't have to flip pages, but. And I kind of like this format where we can actually have some time to have the budget and then have some discussion time and then actually have a time to vote on it afterwards. So occasionally, sometimes we rush that process, and I think this is actually better for people to have some time to actually soak into it. So. What Josh has got up there right now is the designated funds. And just so you know, we basically presented this information with the year-end financial results. But I wanted you to see, and I've explained this to the group a couple of times, but I want to make sure you understand again. We have a general operating fund, and then we have a designated fund. And the designated fund is any money that anybody contributes that says, I want my money to go here, and they tell us what that is. That money has to be used for those purposes. So you'll see up here, Annie Armstrong, some of our mission money is definitely that way. You can see what we started the year with, and we carry that money over from year to year so that it doesn't wipe out every year. But this year, we really tried to pay out some of that money, so you'll see a lot of those accounts going to zero. All the money that we raised for Quail Ridge fire victims, you can see that money coming in and that money going out. We also have the building fund. The building fund is money that's been given throughout the years to be used for building expenses. So, children's ministry, you'll see that 1447 is the ending balance. Some of that is the Gaga pit. I meant to write that down. I think it's 400 and something. Did I say that? 400 and something dollars that we've collected for that. The rest of it was money that a lot of it came in from online, and it just says children's ministry, and we've put that to Awana for right now. Unless if anybody has given online and really wants that to go to the Gaga pit, you're going to have to let us know, because I think online it's very difficult to designate a specific cause. So, and then youth. Youth is money we've carried for a couple of years now that we've collected, and it's to be used for the youth activities. So I want you guys to see that so you'll know that there are mission opportunities going on, mission activities, money being collected, money being spent, but it's not usually coming out of the operating fund. It's going through this designated fund. So what we're actually looking at on the budget, because we can't basically budget for designated funds, it's only the operating fund. So, yep. So this is kind of taking the top part of our budget. And as you can see, We basically just assumed the same level of giving as we've had in the last year. It's actually been about that same amount for the last couple of years, honestly. So we didn't really, we know God can do more, and we were praying that God can do more. And really, that should be our prayer for all of us this year, is that we ask God seriously, what can this church do? I mean, we've got activities, we've got things that we want to do. There are finance limitations, and so we need to make sure that we are actively praying for those. I'm not going to go through every line because I tried to really write some of the explanations as to why things changed. But for the most part, our budget is very similar to where we ended last year. You can see kind of categories. The biggest change is going to be our insurance. I think most of you already know that we, because of the loss ratio that we had on the flood, we were canceled by Church Mutual. We had to go out and shop insurance, and to insure us, it cost us about $30,000 more than it did last year. That's a big expense for our church, but it's one of those kind of necessary things that we have to have. So that's the biggest driver for the increase, honestly. We did increase the meal cost. I think a lot of you experienced that, but trying to shave off some of the church's expenses for those. And pretty much everything else is pretty status quo. So I'll open it now for you guys to ask questions. I mean, it is a different budget than we've had in previous years, and we've never really projected that we would have such a loss for next year. It's a little different, but realizing that every extra dollar we bring in than we did last year just helps that number decrease. So anyway, I would like to open it up for any questions. If I can't answer them, maybe the assistant treasurer or any of my committee could possibly answer. So. Hang on.
If we can go without any more claims for a year or two, then that premium will decrease. It won't be $30,000 every year.
That'd be great. Yep, I think that's our goal. This year was hard, and that number was large this year. But like Mike's on the insurance committee and our team, and they really helped us out with shopping that around and trying to get the best price for us this year. And it'll be better going forward, I think. So thank you for sharing that. I want y'all to be interactive. I really do want you to ask questions. I may not know all of the answers, but I'd like for you to have some discussion. I mean, this is your church too, and I want you to make sure that you're comfortable with the numbers, that you realize what they are. I want to be very transparent with, where our church stands. So we are, going into our cash reserves. So we've got to really pray. Growing the top line, I mean, we can't stop ministry, right? I mean, ministry has to happen. So God's called us here for that purpose, and, we feel committed that we keep pressing forward and praying that He will provide. So, oh goodness, somebody's got to ask a question. Nick doesn't even have a message prepared for tonight, so.
Is the software, is that a licensing thing? It's every year?
It's a combination of a lot of things in that number. Adobe. Does that include what the sound? No, that's in the audiovisual number. That streaming services licensing is coming through the audiovisual line. You'll see that up there, right under advertising. So that 4350, it's got some restream and some different licensing things that's primarily what they're asking for in that number. Software also includes our accounting software.
That's what I was asking about.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
But it has to be re-upped every year? Okay.
Yep. And that's a pretty accurate number, looking at our monthly charge, kind of we get charged for those things monthly. So it's pretty set.
But the sign, once it's paid for, it's out of the budget, right?
Yes, yes. And we put half of the sign in 2024, and half of the sign we paid for early part of 2025. So, okay,
We're still negotiating that.
okay. It's in the, yeah. And then the other half you'll see sitting in outside building maintenance and repairs.
It's working. Somebody asked me today, is that your church? I saw y'all's new sign.
It's really pretty. I like it. I think it's nice. Daniel?
This kind of comes from conversations that were had outside of the general budget, but we have money set aside for the AC, right?
We have money set aside in the building fund, yes. It can be used for AC, it can be used for debt repayment, anything building related, so yes.
Well, the question kind of had about it is we're putting over $800 a year into keeping the AC running. We know it's going to have to be replaced in 5 years. It's just going to get more expensive. And it's what, about 20 years old or more? So I mean, if we go ahead and replace that, that would cut our utility costs by up to 20%, and reduce that $800 a month or $800 a year expense in repairing it. But the cost of the equipment and stuff isn't going to get any cheaper over the next 5 years. I mean,
Yeah, we've asked for a bid. I think Nathan, who does a lot of our AC work, he's going to put together something for us so that we can actually, as a finance committee and as a house and grounds committee, evaluate that to see kind of what that number would look like. I've been kind of told all over the board, so I want to make sure I know what I'm dealing with and there are 5 units, I think.
there's
5
5
or
breakers in the
6?
box for AC, so I'm assuming
How
so.
much?
There are 5 breakers in the box for AC, so that's what I'm assuming.
Okay. Because I think the question has been, and we've had this conversation even in a couple of meetings I was at, but to actually do the air conditioners, you have to have a crane.
You want to let House and Ground take that?
Oh, I'd love to, but I'll say this just to make sure. I mean, the concept was if and when we are ready to do that, our roof is going to have to be fixed, replaced. There's some things that are going to have to happen. And to have a crane here to do the air conditioners, they just said they told us at one point in time that it might be a lot cheaper for the roof repair to have it all done at the same time. Roofs are not cheap, so those are the kinds of things that we're going to be facing in the next couple of years with an older building and older infrastructure, so.
Yeah, we have asked Nate to give us an estimate on replacing all of our AC units on the roof. And at the same time, we want to also replace the existing roof itself, because you got to have a crane brought in that's big enough to handle all that. So it'll save us a lot of money, but it's going to be well over $100,000 to replace those units. We don't have an estimate, a total estimate yet, but it's going to be well over 100,000.
I don't know. I haven't had a final. Yeah, they would have to get that to us. So I know we've asked for it, and we just asked for it just a few weeks ago. So there's a lot that goes into that, I think. So I want to make sure that they give us enough time to actually evaluate that. So, but then that's the question that comes back. I mean, we have $110,000 in our building fund. You know, do we take all of that money and use it to replace air conditioners and roofs? The problem with that comes that if and when we, if our top line doesn't grow here and we've still got an $8,000 a month debt payment that we need to make. So we want to make sure that we're, making wise decisions. I mean, obviously, fixing an air conditioner would save us on utility cost. It's just what do you do first? So.
Do you mind if I respond to
Not at
Daniel?
all.
I think that the answer is that House and Grounds, which you're on, that's on your list, is to explore opportunities to fix the roof, to fix the air conditioners. And I talked to Bobby today. You guys will be deciding, is that a 2-year program or is that a this year program? And of course, the committee will present their decision or their request to the church, right? Is that fair?
Yep.
Okay, you need this?
Is it sort of correct in the way that our church will be paid for in 2 years, so that in 2 years where we would be making a church payment, we can pray until then that the air conditions hold out, and then once the church is paid off, that'll free up some money to cover roof and air conditioners.
Well, I think that's kind of been our stand, I mean, for the last couple of years. It's just that, you know, we know that when that debt's paid off, and we've made some additional debt payments, principal payments in the last, I know last year we did, years before that we have also. So right now, I think our maturity date on that note is actually out into like February of '28. But
Paul, I reran the amortization based on the current balance, and I think we'll actually, because of some prepayments that have been made, it's about 2.5 years. So we've shaved about 6 months off of that over the past couple of 3-4 years. But officially, it will mature February of '28, but it's most likely, based on the current path we're on, it'll pay out sometime in 27, mid-year, August, September of '27.
But yeah, I mean, that's kind of where, obviously, when we are free from an $8,000 a month payment, we can do things like, you know, maintenance that's been delayed for years, and ministries that, you know, staff positions, things that we can definitely find a way to spend that money, so. Anything else? Oh, Becky, that sounds great. Do you want my mic?
This is out of the box, but I got this idea from our president. Is there a way we got a, excuse me, can we have a committee that would look at this very closely and try to trim the fat off of our budget? Because as I look through here, I can see ways that we could trim it down myself.
I would tell you that looking at, kind of knowing what we're doing right now, I personally feel that it's pretty trim. Obviously, look at other ideas and other people's opinions can probably see things that we don't see. So I think that's always a good idea. I'm completely open to that. You know, I know there's been talk of a team that would be put together to maybe help us figure out how we can get our debt paid off sooner, our loan. And I know, you know, obviously we are welcome and open to any ideas that there are. We want to be as lean as we can. I think we're going to have to be lean, and I'm going to challenge you guys that are ministry leaders and team leaders, help us this year to kind of figure those out. If you're responsible for those areas and you say, hey, I can do something better this way or this way, by all means, don't just do it because we've been doing it that way forever. If there's a better way to do it, we need to.
Well, I was just looking, for instance, at the ladies' ministry. You know, I spoke with the people who helped me on the ladies' coffee, for instance. We really don't put any money out, and we got $250 down here.
I went through this year, our team put together, and we want people to be using that money if they can. I mean, we put that in there. We didn't ask for that this year. We put $250, I think, in all the ministries.
Yeah, we take care of it with volunteers. You know, we do what we want.
And nothing says that you have to use the $250. So if there, you know, I know this last year we did, I know Jamie and some of the women's ministries did what did you call that? I don't remember what it's, simulcast, yes, thank you. And, you know, that's a fairly big expense. We didn't want everybody that came to have to spend that money just to see the simulcast. So that was an expense that we had in women's ministry this past year. But yes, things that we can do to spend, I mean, nothing says that because it's in the budget, you have to spend it, right? I mean, it's
Well, if
just
we're
there in case
wanting
you.
to cut, trim it down, I mean, if it's my budget, I'd be trimming it down. So I hope the church would be the same way. And it would be nice to have a committee who would, sort of like Elon Musk, just have somebody in charge of just go talk to these people who are in these ministries and say, do you really need this much money? And see.
Absolutely. I think that's a great idea. Yes, Mike?
Okay, I'm new. I'm not even an official member yet. And so I just kind of was looking over everything, and I was just looking, and something that I was involved in behind the scenes a little bit last year was the Vacation Bible School, and it's been cut quite a bit. And I know it looked fabulous last year.
It
but-
did, and I've worked with Jennifer a little bit, challenged her. I think last year was a great VBS. I was actually worked here too, worked during that process, and she did a great job. I think there was a lot of people, it's our first year doing it for the last couple of years. We haven't done it in the last few years, and so Jennifer was new to this role. She did a great job, but, there was a lot of people buying and people doing this and things that were maybe not coordinated with, snacks and crafts and all the things. And I just challenged her to kind of say, hey, put together, and this came from her, so it wasn't us telling her that. She looked at the numbers and looked at what was spent, and I think did a great job of, putting together something that she thought was doable and reasonable and still meet the quality that she expects, so.
Okay. Well, I mean, the reason I asked is because I know, didn't you work, because we did the meeting at your house. I mean, like, we went to Dollar Tree and, and we bought supplies and
Oh, yeah.
stuff that wasn't in the budget, which I know everybody does, but that's why it just kind of concerned me that there was almost half
Well,
of that
Jennifer thinks she
cut.
could do it, and I have
Okay.
faith in Jennifer.
Well, I was
so
just
I'm going
asking.
to let her.
I was just asking, because I want, if I decide to join the church, then I want to commit, my tithe to the church. And so this is, like I said, it's new to me, so I didn't.
No, I think you just kind of.
And as far as like, do y'all source out like the janitorial, and like the, where'd it go, lawn service? Do y'all check other people to get prices, or did y'all have church members that do
We've used
it?
that same group for the last, I know the janitorial and the lawn service for the last few years. I know we've been pretty loyal to them, and I feel like they've probably given us the best price that they can give. I think the janitorial for sure, and the lawn I think too. So, I mean, those are kind of fellowship and house and grounds kind of work together on making sure those contracts look right. So, yeah.
Again, I was just,
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, absolutely. I want you to know what's going on, so.
Both of those are on.
Oh, well, never mind. I was just going to say that I know there has been some conversation about the janitorial that,
Yeah, both of those things that you mentioned are on House and Grounds list to go through contracts, and, they know that cheapest is not always best, but they're looking for ways. You want this, Mike? Are you done? You okay? Give us.
Two things to say. One in the form of a question, do we still have a benevolent fund?
We do, and you'll see that, well, Josh, if you'll put the designated fund back up there, I wanted you to see that. Yeah, if you'll look underneath Lottie Moon, you'll see we have $3,263 in our benevolence fund.
Okay, that's good. And the other, in a lot vein,
Nick, did you talk about complainers on Sunday?
Yeah, we actually spent all our money on blankets. They're right here.
You can reduce the utilities if you'll turn the lights off in the bathroom when you leave it. Now, I'm talking about if you're like the last person in the building, because I've coming up here on Tuesday nights, and the lights be on in the bathroom since Sunday.
I think we're going to ask all of y'all to conserve as much as you can. I mean, those are the kinds of things, if we can conserve electricity, if we can conserve, expenses, I think that's, even every little bit helps, so.
So if the outreach is primarily for VBS.
Yes.
And that is concerning that is cut in half, because that's how we try to
And I
bring
think a
more
lot of
people
that,
here.
to be honest, after thinking about it, I think we provided T-shirts for a lot of people last year, and I think she has budgeted this year that either the workers will either pay for their T-shirts. I think the T-shirts were a big portion of.
Well, they can't be $2,000. But, okay, children's ministry,
Mm-hmm.
what is VBS, does that come out of that perhaps?
No,
What does
children's ministry is going to be your camp and your Awana, pretty much. There's a few other things that she has in there, but that's what those costs are.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have much more to say, except for I second the fact that I don't see how that could possibly be cut in half. Like, I don't understand how that would work, even if you took out T-shirts. I don't know. Oh, I don't really have anything, what do we?
That's your Awana cost, all your Awana fees, your Awana, and camp is the largest piece of that.
For those two, maybe?
Camp is the largest portion of that.
Okay.
I just said this to John, and I'll say it to you. I try not to encourage people to designate funds. I hope that's fair to say. But having said that, you can designate to VBS or to Children's Ministry if you'd like to.
Yeah, I've been designated.
Or Awana or whatever.
Ministry online some,
Okay.
I actually was doing that for the Gaga pit until you said.
Yeah, it's really hard. When we get that information from Charlotte, it doesn't have anything but children's ministry. So if you know that you've given some certain amounts and you want that to go to the specific need, just let one of us know. You can let John know, or I think he does the book, so. Yep. And have we explored the idea of figuring out how to get the Gaga ball pit cheaper than $3,000? Is that? How much does that really cost? I mean, I didn't know if House and Grounds working on that, or is that Children's Ministry? I didn't know. Yeah, I've only seen checks that came in that said that, and it was like $420 or so. So if there's money that's in that $1,400 that needs to be Gaga, let me know. Yeah, you can probably tell us exactly. Because we make note of that in the general ledger as to specific purposes for it, so. Yeah, you can.
So they're talking about the game that we tried to buy and build for the children. It's a really complicated discussion because there are 100 different ways to build it. You can buy a portable kit. I actually had a church member volunteer to just buy that and give it to us. And I say we, it's really just the people that work with Awana and Jennifer talking about it. We kind of decided that the best way to build it was permanent. I think Bobby was in some of those discussions. Is that right, Bobby? Not really. We're going to build it out of decking material, put it outside so that it would be permanent and that it would withstand the weather, which makes it more expensive. So there are definitely other ways to build it. I think that the Stacia is the one that worked on it the most. That's what it was. It wasn't Bobby, it was Stacia. And I think the material cost was $2,600, $2,800. That's just to buy the material, and then we would do all the work ourselves. It's just a game. Yeah, they play it almost every Wednesday night in the gym. They set up tables and play.
Anybody else? Anything else? Okay. Yes. Yes. I'll be glad to say it. Yes. I mean, there's a lot of things that are going on at this church, and God has got lots of plans for us, right? And some of those take money. Some of those take time and effort of people, right? I mean, they take volunteer effort, and we need both, honestly. And you know, things aren't cheaper. Nothing gets cheaper these days, right? Everything that we want to do is, some of it takes money. And we have some good ideas. Nick's got some good ideas that will help us grow and reach the next, reach more people for Jesus. So I would encourage you to pray about it, because I think that's what it takes, is all of us praying and saying, there are times that, we could possibly give more, and we need to. Cut out your Starbucks coffee, There's things that we can do, so all of us. John and I are looking at it too. We're looking at how can we give? How can we pare our own, personal finances down to be able to give more, so. Okay, anything else? Oh. I don't know. Charlotte, you're in charge, or John.
What I was going to say is that we would need to get with Charlotte or Nick and build a new category, because there is a category in there for Awana, and then I believe there's a generic children's. But there's not one currently that says VBS. So we need to look and just see if we can build a different category as a drop-down option.
There is a comment line. There is a comment line for sure, but and let me just say, this system is new to us. I don't know. They're asking about online giving. How do you designate? Deidre has asked about this, and we did some of it, but I guess we just need more categories. Is that what we're hearing? Okay. That's okay. That's easy to do. Okay. Okay.
We kind of put outreach in VBS, but, if it makes more sense for you guys for us to put it all in children, we can do that. But I kind of like knowing how much we're spending for VBS, just kind of if people ask us, it's kind of nice to have that separated. But is there anyone else that gives online that would like a specific category for designation, I guess is my next. So you're talking, somebody needs to make sure that we put one for outreach, VBS.
It would be helpful for every different category. I just think it would be helpful for every category that's listed to provide that option. Yeah, that's all.
I'm sorry, say it one more time.
The fees for online giving, is it a percentage fee that's paid?
It is, and you'll see how much we spend on that.
Well, I was looking at that, and
Yeah.
it's like an ACH is 1%, and
I don't know what the fees are, and y'all may know more about the online fees than I do.
We switched our online giving platform. How long's it been, Charlotte? Okay. We switched it, and it did save a little bit of money, but we gained the benefit of it communicating with our church software. It's called Touchpoint, so it helped what we do. I'm sure the fees are a little high, but they're not out of line with every other online giving platform.
I guess people actually tithing versus it's easier to online tithe still in the life of the tithe. I mean, people are tithing more because of it, right?
Yes, I mean, that's part of it, is that when you make, I know for a lot of you don't do online giving, but when you make online giving easier and accessible to people, the giving goes up. That's the statistic for sure. I don't know if that's true for us, but we haven't pushed it very much, so, yeah.
John's going to try to get us a breakdown of general fund, how much was online giving versus how much was check. We do track that separately, so try to pull that together for you. Is that going to be cumbersome to add a category for every designation?
No, it's,
Okay.
I mean, Charlotte and I can do it. It takes a few minutes per line. The problem that we had with Awana was that we created a category but didn't actually create a budget line for it. And that was when we first started it, but we know how to do it. It's not a problem.
Okay.
It really is not.
And we would ask you, I mean, obviously, when you give to designated funds, that takes away sometimes from our general operating fund. So I'm not opposed to designating money to that. I think that's good for things that are ongoing operations like that. But to fund our general activities, we'll also need, make sure that you're not splitting that to the point where we're not meeting our general fund obligations, so.
What about asking for a, I guess, a separate donation for if we as a church want to put our money towards something rather than saying, saying this is their general fund, but we're willing to give extra to X, Y, or Z.
Absolutely, and that's what we ask for some of these designated funds. I mean, above and beyond what you would give to the general operations of the church, that's kind of where we would ask you to give the designated funds, so. I know you guys have children, and so that, I mean, children's programs, so I mean, I can understand that, so. It is. Yep. Absolutely. Did you see it? No, I want to know how much was given online. Just the breakdown between the 300, how much was online versus general fund? Just for 24. Awkward silence. Scott, you want to answer that one?
My neighbor asked, why do we spend so much money on streaming services? Raise your hand if you don't know what streaming services are. Oh, come on. It's putting Sunday morning online. Scott's going to answer.
I'll try to at least. We have a few different programs that we have to use for streaming online. Yes. One of them has to do with copyright. Yes, very much. Another is purely just the streaming service, access to it. Josh, do you remember how much that one is?
I have your budget request. Hang on.
We use one program
the plan after tonight is to present this on Sunday morning, this coming Sunday morning, to present this in just a few minutes. I'll let Deidre do that, and then we will take a vote, and we won't have discussion then. So if you have something you need to ask, you can do it tonight. You can do it afterwards if you need to. But if there's nothing more, then I will conclude the business meeting. I'll close this. I'll entertain a motion to dismiss. Got one of those, two of those, a second? All right. Let's do it. I'm going to ask Jimmy to pray, but do you want me to do prayer requests tonight?